Dhamma friends, this is the time we have allocated for this question and answer session. So that there are some questions already written, some of them are in Sinhalese language and some of them are in English. So according to the question, I will try to tackle in the same language the way the question has written. And anyway, I would like to invite all, while the discussion is going on, if someone has to raise any question, it's welcome, or any comments or any topic suitable. Meanwhile, I will start with what is written. The first question is Yoniso Manasikara, the observation of the mind reacting to objects with defilements. Yoniso Manasikara, you have to compare it with Ayoniso Manasikara. These are two contradictions. Yoniso Manasikara is one, the healthy one. Ayoniso Manasikara is the defiled one. So it is general conventional translation is the wise reflection. That is how the Yoniso Manasikara is translated. And Ayoniso Manasikara is unwise reflections. So it is coming from the term Manasikara. Manasikara is the adverting of the mind. If it is adverted or directed with the wisdom, that is called Yoniso Manasikara. If you are adverting if you advert it with the unwise manner, it is called Ayoniso Manasikara. So the question itself is going to give an answer reacting to the object with defilements. This we can say the unwise way of reflection or adverting. Instead, if someone can observe the object without any reaction or unassuming way, that is easily one can say it is the Yoniso Manasikara. Ayoniso Manasikara way is the reaction. And so it is one of the many shades of meaning. Yet another translation is a radical reflection. In our conventional way, we react to the object according to our likings and dislikings, according to our personality traits. But if you know in that you are going to develop radical reflection, you observe the object without any reaction, without any assuming, or be aware choicelessly. That is called Yoniso Manasikara. In the practice, when the breath ceases in your awareness, you experience concentration. Along with the concentration, you also experience a magnetic pull toward the, sometimes this magnetic pull looks in. Your awareness and the mind cannot cannot wave. When this magnetism is intense, it can interrupt the concentration. How do you balance this competing forces in the practice? Usually this statement, when this magnetism is intense, it can interrupt the concentration. That to be clarified, because this there is no contradiction or antagonism between this magnetism and the concentration. So therefore, when this is happening, if you are not interfering in this situation, if it let it happen as it is, you will see the parallelism between this magnetism and the concentration. Otherwise, if you are going to fork your fingers, then only these appear like contradictory. So therefore, this is the point where you have to let go, or you have to put the control to the autopiloting, and then letting the things to happen. Or in terms of energy, up to this point, you have to exert energy. You have to facilitate the meditation. You have to note. You have to drive. You have to propel. But when this happens, you must know how to withdraw slowly, and then things will happen there in their own accord. So therefore, we can say, up to this point, it is scientific science, and then it has to be an art. You know how to, you must know how to let things happen. So therefore, it's a kind of a transitional stage. So therefore, nothing to worry. You have to practice again and again. One day you will learn the art, how to balance the energy at this level, how to let the meditation to take its own accord. So, so this is a very, very interesting, very important, critical point. Everyone learn this point by trial and error. There is no particular formula or particular method, because one person's formula won't work to the other person. So you have to do trial and error, and it is interesting. It's a first-hand kind of experience you are going to get. So the last part is, how do you balance these competing forces in the practice? What I have to tell is, don't let you go and balance it. Let them to be balanced by itself. Then you will understand it is a natural phenomena. Dear Bhante, in what stage do we have to drop 5 powers? Of course, if I am to configure this question, I have to understand that in the teaching of the Buddha, there are 37 enlightenment factors listed in an orderly manner, the 4 foundation of mindfulness and Sattva Satipatthana, and then Iddhipada, Panchapada, Hatara Iddhipada, Sattva Samyak Pradhan Virya, Pancha Indriya, Pancha Bala, Sattva Bojjhanga, and Noble Eightfold Path. So everything come up to the 37. So at a time, the faith, the energy, the mindfulness, the concentration and the wisdom list as faculties. Once they become advanced, they become powers, and further you go there, you go to the enlightenment factors and culminating with Noble Eightfold Path. So the question is, if I understand correctly, how it goes from the 4 powers to the 7 enlightenment factors. If you read the literature in the Burmese masters, they say even if you develop up to the 5 powers, you may not be aware very clearly what is the difference between different functions of each, such as the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and the wisdom like. But when you go up to the Bojjhanga level, that means enlightenment factors, you clearly can discriminate the intrinsic characteristic of each and every. So that is a kind of mastery to the same, and become more and more familiar. You can come to know these are the intrinsic characteristics of the energy, and these are the characteristics of mindfulness. Likewise it happens, but it may be true for the person who has good amount of theory knowledge, otherwise very difficult to say like that. There may be kind of a improvement or evolution, that is why the Buddha put them one after the other, but there is no particular character. For example, how the mindfulness as a energy can go up to the mindfulness as a factor of enlightenment, or mindfulness as a part and parcel of the Noble Eightfold Path. The Burmese way of interpretation also valid, but there is no such a sharp, there is no such a attributable one factor, but whatever may be, the familiarity increases as you go, keep on happening. If I am to add some more to this question, if you study the Noble Eightfold, the 37 enlightenment factors, their mindfulness appear in 8 places, energy appear in 9 places. Likewise, that one single mental factor appear again and again. With respect to these two, definitely you can categorize them as they are improving, as they are evolving. Therefore, the question is valid, but very difficult to give a pinpointed answer. The theoretical answer is, at the 5 powers level, you are not much clear enough the intrinsic characteristic of each one, but when you come up to the passing and beyond the 5 powers, when you go to the 7 enlightenment factors, you can understand functions one by one each other. That is the one way of understanding this evolution. Dear Venerable Bhante, if someone is getting involved in helping the needy, which is normally considered to be a wholesome act, which is also an external event, not inward, would that interfere adversely with meditation practice? I would say when someone is in a retreat like this, answer is yes. Because you come here understanding your time and the value of money and value of the time and the money and everything. And when you come here, if you are going to do this kind of thing, definitely it is inappropriate. But in the day-to-day life, it according to the intensity of your investment, you have to weigh. When the Buddha is depicting the 10 armies of Mara, or the evil one, he said the very first one is, the obvious one is the desire. That is very common and very obvious thing. And the second one is, he depicted it as arati. Arati means that whenever you have 2 options, one thing is more advanced kind of wholesome act, the other one is less advanced. When you are given a choice like this, the person who is suffering from this arati always select the lower type, despite the best. So this is the way you amuse yourself telling that I am doing wholesome, but definitely you are losing the opportunity. So if you are sharp enough to see the opportunity cost and going for the maximum, that is the best for your well-being. And but if your crafty mind come and say, then it is you are selfish and you are doing only yourself, therefore you have to go for the social well-being and all the kind of thing. So that is the way this reasoning is going against your well-being. So therefore one has to consider it, specifically when you are coming to a meditation retreat like this, definitely very easy. Answer is very easy. Considering the well-being of others is a distraction and a disturbance, because it involves thinking and talking, and they are really disturbing your mindfulness and the concentration. And the second part of the question, if so, wouldn't that be contradicting to the practice of Dana with Bhavana? That is the way it happens. But what is the meaning of Dana, the generosity? And generosity have many stages. You can start with material thing. That is what we call the material dana, and that is generosity or charity dana. When you go to sila, or that means when you are go to the morality, you give fearlessness. That is not a material, but it is highly respected and materialistic giving. For example, when there is an animal to be killed, you give fearlessness by giving the by not killing and not stealing, not sexual misconduct, not by verbal misdeeds. Even though it is carried with no material part, but it's highly graded by the Buddha. And when you come up with the concentration, you give up your hindrances. And that is the still higher dana. And when you go to the vipassana, you give up your desire, conceit and the views. That is the most deepest one. So therefore you can't separate dana and bhavana, because when the Buddha explained the third noble truth, the Nirodha Satya, he has 4 characteristic terms: Chaga, Patinissagga, Mutti, Analayo. Chaga means that generosity, Patinissagga means letting go, Mutti means liberation, Analayo means giving up the desire. So it is exactly he used the Nibbana, the final emancipation, also kind of dana. So which dana you are referring is the matter in this question. So therefore you can't compare dana and bhavana. Of course in the lay practice it says dana sila bhavana, but when you go a little deep in the philosophical way, every stage you can explain in terms of dana. So therefore always you have to go for higher dana or skillful dana. So therefore ultimately meditation itself also you can interpret in terms of dana. So therefore when you come to the meditation, you are depending on the dana given by others rather than you are going to give dana. So as far as the materialistic thing is concerned. So therefore in the meditation, you give the highest priority for your well-being by getting rid of your defilements. That is how you have to justify in meditation retreats. You try to concentrate as much as possible, mindfulness and the concentration rather than the merit you earn by this kind of generous action. Or go to the question, it is said that helping others, helping needy. But even in a retreat, if someone come and ask your help, don't hesitate to go ahead and do. But don't take your own interest to go there. That is the point it happens. And whenever you go in search of, whenever you go with your initiative, ultimately you will be accused, telling that your vested interest make yourself busy and you are messing up the meditation center also. So therefore, you have to be careful, unless otherwise a responsible person come and tell you, or the person who is desperately necessary, you go and help. It is on the humanistic ground. You can appreciate it. It happened very rarely. But otherwise, this will be disturbing the meditative atmosphere, specifically in the meditation retreat.
Could I go back to the question about concentration and magnetism?
Concentration and?
And the one word had a question about that they had magnetic pull inwards. At that point...
you are referring to another question now?
Yes, the previous question. Sorry.
Yeah.
At that point, what do you note? Because the breath has ceased in your awareness.
Yeah.
So what did not
you are noting, you are monitoring your mindfulness and the concentration, because even the object is disappearing, the thread, the continuity of the mindfulness is there. So you are sure you are wandering mind or distracted by thought or sound. If it is not so, you know continuity is there. So that means you are protected. You are, even the object as such is not there. You have to just let the thing happen as it is, making sure you are not out of the boundaries. You are within the boundary of mindfulness, the concentration. The Dhamma itself will take and it will lead you. So there you are surrendering. You are letting the Dhamma to work, Dhamma to unfold according to its own way, and that is how you withdraw energy, or you withdraw your monitoring or steering, and let the Dhamma to take place. So this is the best thing can happen, because Dhamma is the best when it is happening in its own accord. But if you are going to do this kind of thing well ahead of that, that is mistake. Where you have to monitor, you have to exert energy and take the situation under control, you have to do. And once the magnetic power comes, magnetic energy comes, object is rather disappeared, that is the point you have to let go, the Dhamma to take its own path. Karu Swamin answer, what is advisable? Asking question like this, writing in a paper or at question and answer time, or getting a personal interview and discuss the problem. Please explain the benefits. Thank you. When I was in the first time in the Melbourne, I was there about, I think the second time, we had the non-residential retreats for a number of days, and their interviews were there. And I find it very difficult to cope up with, because so much of people come and wait, but not enough time. And there was one elderly person, and he came and told, Bhante, it is a wastage of your knowledge to only offer one person. Why don't you go for a common question and answers? And then I told, many are waiting to have a personal interview, so they will be not happy, desperate that telling that no interviews. Then he says, I will make a common suggestion, and we will take as much as possible to the common discussion. Those who only serious and keen about interviews can go. Others, we must promote this common question and answer, because it is everyone benefited. And yet another advantage I personally experience is, many people even in the interview do not know how to raise a question. So if someone is raising a question in the common question and answer session, many are benefited by raising the question and getting the answer. So therefore, I generally prefer to raise the question in this common question and answer session, but that does not indicate to completely cut off interviews. Reduce the list for interviews and take as much as possible generic questions for the question and answer session. Garu Swaminathan, what is the Buddhist point of view on the following three controversial issues widely discussed in this country? Euthanasia, switching off life support of a terminally ill person, abortions. Please quote Buddhist text as well. Thank you. I think the euthanasia and the switching off the life support of the terminal ill patient is almost the same. This is from the last time also we happened to discuss, we happened to take this issue. As of the bhikkhus are concerned, those who have taken the high ordination, there's the one very crucial law, the monastic rule. It says, it happened you to kill a human being, your monkhood will be vanished, and it is becoming an irreversible damage. So therefore, under such circumstances, it says cases like euthanasia don't get committed into. Do not try to take a decision if you are going to take a decision, or you are going to get committed, ultimately it is leading to hell of the doubt. So therefore, it says as bhikkhus, the situation is very conservative, not to commit into that kind of situation. So from the laity, or from the yogi's point of view, situation is not so clear-cut from the monastic code is concerned, and it will be a financial issue, or social issue, or a political issue. So therefore you have to understand, you have to weigh against your equanimity, your patience versus the money, versus the social situation, versus the political situation. So very difficult to tell or give premeditated idea. So you have to weigh it and balance and see what is going to happen. Because if it is a wastage of time and the money and kind of thing, and your decision will cut off the unwanted expenditure in the economic way and the social political way. So you have to balance these three criterion together with your patience. If you are patient and indifferent, you can easily see the influences coming from the social, political and economic ways, and you can arrive at a good decision. But if you are not identifying and isolating these kind of things, you will be rushing with emotions. Your decisions are not going to last long. So weigh. And as far as the abortions are concerned, please quote the Buddhist text as well. There is no text as such. And exactly the same way, the abortion is the starting point, euthanasia is the ending point of the life. And whatever you are going to do as bhikkhu, and if it is going to amount to killing a soul, killing a life, specifically human, then it is becoming an irreversible damage for bhikkhu life. So bhikkhus are being instructed not to get committed into that level. But in the lay life, last time when this question happened, I raised it, I gave it to Sister Vayama, and she told it is the final decision is the mother's decision. That is what I understood according to her interpretation. So therefore, because we can't consult the fetus. If it is otherwise, the fetus has it, that the final decision of the fetus is the matter. But unlucky enough, it is dumb. So therefore, we have to decide that we have to next close one is the mother's decision, and that is what it happens. But as monks, we are very clear cut what to do and what not to do, and very little application also to the monk's life. So why don't you become a monk?
About this life support system, it is possible that by removing the life support system of a person, you can save many more with the use of the kidneys, the corneas, the arteries. All these things can be used on other people. For example, after the brain death, there is no point taking somebody on life support. So maybe it's enough to remove that and use those kidneys and things for somebody else.
So such a thing is, best thing is you have to enlighten people, and if they can the last will, then you are one step ahead. And if that particular person is not in a position to give their consent, or if they are not aware, this is one-sided decision. Because that to have a dana, the chetana is the main thing. The particular person who is dying should have his own chetana than our medical and other chetana. So by enlightening the people, and if the particular person is going to give the last will, I think one step ahead. So therefore our reasoning it out from the outsider, only my criticism it is one-sided. If the patient is involved, situation is more pragmatic, more practical. But I thank you very much, because I thought that the euthanasia and removal of life supporting system is equal. But I know that I get the point. Venerable Dhammajiva Thero, sometimes I get annoyed for little things. Then I blame myself or someone close to me, therefore I get many sleepless nights. How can I use samatha meditation for this type of situation? I try metta meditation, this helps little bit. This is the answer, because that if you know annoyance or angry or irritation is your question, that is we call dosa or the hatred, and samatha answer is the loving kindness meditation, metta meditation. So metta meditation, if it helps little, you have to be patient and continue again and again, and then you will learn the art, how to develop the metta. The best thing is, or you have to have already developed metta, if you are a hate kind of a person, and don't wait till the hatred to arise before the metta. Always have to have the metta, and then when you keep on practicing, the ways and means will be increased by each and every incident. So even by the samatha technique or concentration technique, you can tackle it. But in the vipassana way, you have to, by understanding the hatred as hatred, is the first and foremost thing. And the second thing is, when you are developing the yoniso manasikara, earlier the better you can trace the hate. Once it is grown up to a certain extent, it is controllability, you are losing the control. More and more you can see the developing part of the hatred, you find your controllability is increasing. So therefore, while you are doing samatha techniques like metta bhavana, in vipassana also you must try to study the hate. After the bombing of the World Trade Center in America, there was a conference on the destructive emotions, and they have recognized 7 destructive emotions, and after the conference they have written 7 books on each destructive emotion. And I think Thurman or Goldman wrote a book on the hatred. And in the preface he says, may I not hate my hatred ever. That is the preface. We are usually hating the hatred, so much so hatred get the energy, get the food, get the fuel. If you know how to love the hatred, that means not to get moved by the hatred, that is the way the vipassana is suggesting. So you have to do both samatha and vipassana. That's the end of all the written questions. We have already spent almost 1 hour. If there are no other questions, we can go further.
I've been practicing the Maha system with religions, and they present this as the vipassana method. Now from what you say, you start with Dana, you call it Anapanasati, and then turning the start is the same thing or different?
To a certain extent, similarities are there, differences also are there. Very clearly you can say, Anapana as a meditation object, opening the doors, both the doors to the samatha and vipassana. But the Mahasi system, right from the beginning, it is only for vipassana. So that difference is there. But both of them are happening due to the air element, Vayu Kotthabba Dhatu. If you take the Satipatthana, 4 foundation of mindfulness, as far as the Kayanupassana, dwelling on the body is concerned, this difference is there. Beyond that, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, both are the same. There is no difference. Only at the Kayanupassana level, whether you are keeping the attention here at the end of the nostril or abdomen, Difference is there.
Because the mind, here, that's the difference.
But if you give the choice to the meditator, and if you're going to get the feedback, you may see some yogis are finding difficult to get the touch of the nose because it's very subtle. So for them, they can adopt into the rising and falling. Otherwise, even if it is also subtle, what you do is you ask the yogi to keep the left hand on the belly and just to feel the physical sensations. So that you relate it with the rising mode and the falling mode. That is verifiability. But the breath, very difficult. So therefore, in fact, I translated the whole treatise into Sinhala, and the very early versions of the Mahasi Sayadaw's original writing is based on Anapanasati. I think Anapanasati. And the 6th or 7th edition onward, there was a footnote, this rising and falling also possible. But later when the system got established, they were more adherent to the rising and falling, and ultimately became a little bit antagonistic with the Anapanasati. But when you... Pardon me? Yeah, when the Mahasi Sayadaw was writing originally, there was no difference. That is why the whole Vipassana Shunichang or Vipassana Naya Prakaranaya is based upon Anapanasati. But later, only as a revision of the basic edition, the rising and falling came into being.
Another question, earlier you were answering a question from somebody, and the person within the breath is no longer perceptible. You said to observe the flowing of to observe awareness. Like in the Maha's opinion, call it knowing.
Knowing.
No, you have skipped the sitting, the object of sitting. Is that not there in you?
It is also possible. That means that when you do rising and falling, if you lose the rising and falling, you can enlarge the object to the whole body, whole sitting posture. Or you can feel sitting, or touching points. Or you can just be aware the place where it disappeared. You can be aware, and there it says between the navel and the solar plexus, you fix the place. Imaginary, this is the place it was. Now it is no more, you just fix the attention there. But if you find difficult, you enlarge the object to the whole body, the whole sitting posture, or touching points.
So after sitting points, those points disappear with what? When you are doing this observation, those points also disappear. Then what is the next stage?
So that disappearance can happen, one thing because of the wandering of the mind, the other thing is still the mindfulness is intact, but you are seeing through them. That is also, you call it as a disappearing. So first thing is a mistake. Mind is wandering off, therefore it is disappearing. That is not, I think, you are talking about. You are talking that you can see through the touching point also. That means you are aware, mindfulness is sharp, so that the continuity is there. You just be aware and to see mind cannot exist without the matter. So you have to ask where it is hanging now, where it is. So up to, with that inquiring, inquisitive nature, you just let the things to happen. Because your rising and falling disappeared, sitting posture disappeared, touching point also disappeared. There you may find they are not disappeared, but you are just see through them. And if it is so, by calming down the mind, you can see boundaries broken, but the energies are there. Upon that energy on the mindfulness is resting now. It's a very advanced situation rather than it to get the shapes and the manner. Because when the mindfulness is developing from the gross to the subtlety, first you catch the shape. And when the mastering the shape, you come to understand the manner. And when shapes and the manner become very mature, all the shapes and manners losing its boundary, and you see everything in a flux. But this is not a bewilderment, this is not a haziness of the mind, but you see the flux. And by observing the flux, you can make sure mindfulness is not disturbed. The trend is there. If it is so, try to make it more immediate, try to make the observation more close to the situation, then only you start to see, even though there are no boundaries, the flux is there, and the speed of the mind and the speed of the object, they are almost parallel. They are working in such a the high frequent vibration, and both of them are working in the same speed. So ultimately what happens is not only the boundaries of the object disappears, like the sounds, pains, thoughts, rising, falling, shape, sitting, touching. Ultimately these two energies come together, they happening something like a merging each other, the noting mind and the noted object. So this is somewhat like absorption in the first jhana, in the samatha meditation. So therefore, of course, it is not a real conventional absorption, since they are working in the same speed, same vibration, it appears like a unit. That means the boundaries between the materiality and mentality also disappears. And that point is the very first point, your ego is broken or split, and the cracks are going to happen. So usually uninstructed yogis develop kind of fear, develop kind of uncertainty, develop kind of a lost, cornered, outcasted, sometimes boring, sometimes monotonous. So ultimately what they do is they open their eyes or start fast breathing or get up and go. So this is a very important change over position. Unless otherwise you are well instructed and well prepared, you can go beyond this point. Otherwise daily you go up to that point and come back. Because you feel like lost. You feel like no boundary. You feel like uncertainty. You feel like threatened. You feel like cornered, outcasted, alienated. So this is the point where the viewpoint and your preparedness matters. Still, if you do not have the correct viewpoint, samadhi, and the preparedness, this will appear like a threat. This will appear like something unexpected. So very difficult to go through. Thank you very much for asking the question, because it is a good thing to be aware, at least in the theoretical basis. And those who have confronted this kind of a situation, it's a little bit more than theory, and it will be some food for thought. And such a people only can be really understand, size the situation as and when it happens, and then sacrifice everything and go through it without adding any turmoil to it, to other side. And there you find that meditation is appear like something happening there outward rather than doing. The doer is lost. But anyway, least amount of accidents. Smooth running happens unless otherwise you add turmoils. Or I would say your ego add turmoils. Your egocentric nature add turmoils. Then onward you come to know, but this is the way you overcome the kaya anupassana level. the mastering, dwelling on the body. And then meditation is become rather mind-based, mental, and how can I say, it is like autopiloting. Things are rather happening rather than doing. You will be a neutral observer, alien observer, and you find least amount of the interference, the speed is highest.
Explain the difference between ashrava and anusaya.
So that this is what going to happen in the few days' time. Asava and anusaya. I am repeating the question. The difference between the asava and anusaya. Asava is the term coming from savati, the flow, the flux, oozing, or infiltration, or influx kind of thing. Anusaya coming from sayati, sayati is sleeping. It is dominant. It is kind of a dominant and sleeping kind of conditions. So both of them are very subtle. Usually in the day-to-day activities you can't see it. Because anusaya is completely dormant. It is sleeping. And asava is just oozing without consulting your choice. It is automatically happening. So ultimately it becomes your second nature. So therefore you never question it. You never consider it as something artificial or alien. You feel like this is myself. This is my way of taste. This is my liking and disliking, my personality. So it's taken into grant. So therefore these two, though they are completely going against your well-being, knowingly or unknowingly you are fertilizing. Knowingly or unknowing, you are nourishing them. So therefore, second person have no saying on that. So that is why the Buddha says, unless otherwise you see, you know, you can not get rid of them, you can just stop feeding them. That is the best you can do. So therefore you have to see their malice, their bad thing, in their correct perspective, and it appear like going against your own ego. Appear like you are going against your liking and disliking. Going against your personality. Going against what you call you are. So therefore, by itself it is ambiguity. But once you tackle the transgressional kind and the obsessional kind of defilements, you develop kind of a skillfulness towards the defilements. Then only then one can understand the phenomena of asava and anusaya in theoretical basis. And not only that, they can go little further and see, even though I am skillful in this, getting rid of this transgressional kind, even though I am partly skillful in getting rid of, or at least suppressing of obsessional defilement, how these things are happening again and again. What is the source? You can have kind of a deductive knowledge also, inferential knowledge also. Then only one day you will see the correct perspective, how this asava and anusaya are working. In a very subtle way and very without giving any chance for you. So this understanding is what the Buddha wanted to give through the theory and other kind of thing. But the most difficult thing is they are working in a perverted way, in a vanchanika dhamma. So their general appearance see like friendly. It appear like it is giving you it is working for your welfare like. But ultimately it is not the case. If I am to give an example, common example for the asava and anusaya, if you take a worldwide organization like Mafia, the very first person who is running the business, no one knows. No one have no rights to understand who he is. Even to the board of directors, you don't know who the person is. Generally, he is a gentleman. Maybe the police superintendent or something like that. So no one knows, because he is a well-established, good career and a national figure. But he is the same person running this kind of organization, and he give good amount of executive powers to the board of directors, but board of directors have no rights to understand the person. And the board of directors is hiring supervisors and the secondary gate people. They hire mercenaries. So ultimately, thing is committed by the hired mercenaries. So whatever the amount you are going to detect through the police can only understand the hired labor. They don't know from where the order comes. They don't know who is the board of directors. They don't know what is the source. So therefore, if you know this is a secret organization, the police, if they are intelligent, they are not just kill the mercenaries. They accumulate as much as mercenaries and try to see what kind of instructions they get it. Ultimately, they come to know. They do not know from where the instructions are coming from. That indicates the organization is a secret one. So therefore they keep on accumulating all the people and get information. Then only they can, after thousands and thousands of accumulation, only they can have an idea from where the instructions are coming. And then they can catch the instructor, the supervisory level, but they do not know the board of directors. That is the way it happens. So police has to be very patient, not without reacting with the ultimate doer, the mercenaries. They accumulate it, and then only they can get the board of directors. It's a miracle. And even after tackling the board of directors, very difficult to figure out what kind of a person is. For example, if the police is intelligent and catch hold all the fellows and file a case against and the judge is going to give a correct verdict, he take the main man as the main culprit. The highest punishment to the main culprit. He has done no commitment. He has not done any bad thing. But he is the main causer creating all the organization. So therefore he will be considered as the main culprit. The mercenaries and the hired people, they of course committed, break the rules, but they are the people going to get the least punishment. They exactly the way when you are looking at the transgressional defilements, obsessional and this latent type. No one can figure it out what kind of a personality it is. It appears like a full gentleman. Everything appears like a very beneficial for you. So therefore always you take the opinion from them. And ultimately all your appointments will be end up in disappointments. But still you keep on doing. Because you consider this undercurrent is always with you. This is your inner nature. This is your second nature. So you never mistrust it. So that is why the Buddha says, even I see it, it has no use unless you see yourself in the correct perspective. So therefore, you have to start with the transgressional defilements, but you have to understand they are very innocent. They are hired laborers, but cutting through, and you have to go to the obsessional kind, and there you can understand little bit of the subtlety, and then you have to cut through back deep into and see the latent type. They are all not always more than average. They are perverted, vanchanika. So therefore, if someone going to tell you your own defilement, you will fight against telling, don't come and interfere into my psychology. It is none of your business. Who are you to come and tell like that? Because you never believe that such a malice is working within you. So therefore, if the Buddha has to be, Buddha also never tell you. It says it will give a mirror to you and see, clean the mirror and see your image. Oh, the best mirror, mental one, is the mindfulness. Mindfulness will show things as they are. Under such circumstances, you can see the difference between the asava-anusaya against the observational kind. And within that, asava-anusaya also like twin brothers. And to give some discrimination between the asava-anusaya, you know that dependent origination, we have 12 cycles, starting from avidya, the ignorance, avidya paccaya sankara, sankara paccaya vijnana, vijnana paccaya namarupa. There's a line action, the chain action. And there are, avidya is the root cause you find in literature. But when someone is asked the Buddha, what is the root cause for avidya? He says asava. Asava samudaya, avidya samudayo, avidya samudaya, asava samudayo, asava nirodho, avidya nirodho, avidya nirodho, asava nirodho. Whenever the asava rises, avidya arises. Whenever avidya arises, asava rises. They are reciprocal. But if you cut off asava, you will cut off. That means you are cutting off avidya, the ignorance. If you cut off ignorance, asava also cut off. So therefore, even it is still subtler than the ignorance. And anusaya have no that kind of attribution, only the asava having. Asava is kind of a oozing character. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you smell, whatever you touch, whatever you taste, what you think, always it is smeared with your second nature. It is always mixed with asava. So therefore, if you are wearing sunglasses, always you feel like the climate is very dull because of your tinted glasses. So you see everything through these tinted glasses. So exactly the way, as far as the asava is there, you never see things as they are. You see only through the tinted glasses. And different people have different asava sets. So that is why same thing, when two people observe, they give two commentaries. Two different viewpoints, because this change of the inner nature of the asava. So therefore, very difficult to reach it completely by the theory knowledge, but without theory also we can't do. So therefore we have to study, and its clarity happen whenever the mind is free from obsessional kind of defilements. Then only you can see things as they are. There you find most of your internal nature, the likings and disliking and the personality is to maintain this sansaric journey. It is for the sustenance, existence, but never to cut off. So therefore, you keep on going on this vicious cycle of birth and death. As far as the asava is there, just like a tree cut off, as far as the root system is intact, the new shoots are coming. Whatever the thing you cut off from the aerial part, the root system bound to give more shoots. Likewise, as far as the asava is not cut off, whatever the other meritorial deeds you do, you are never cut off from the sansaric journey. You will be binding again and again. The asava, kama asava, bhava asava, ditta asava, avidya asava. The kama asava is like a desire, and ditta asava, avidya asava, they go mixed with anger and hatred. So therefore, when you go to the asava anusaya level, either they can be benefit, hatred or desire, still not manifested yet, they can go either way. Usually hate and the desire appear like two opposites. But asava is such a thing, it can give to both the branches from the same stem. That is how it become perverted, that's how it become disguised, that is how it become vanchanika, cheating kind of character. So otherwise you go to these deep layers, you don't believe that you are cheating. Of course it is not our will, but it happens during these perverted deep layers. So when you go deep and deep, you understand that most of our mistakes, most of our misdeeds are not much intended things, they are happening, and unfortunately we are going to take the responsibility about them and regret. Because we are not tracing back to the real source. At that source, it is not consulting our will, it is not consulting our intention, it does. Once it is committed, we ultimately suffer, we ultimately regret ourselves throughout, because we are not really attributing and we are not really tracing back to the real cause. At the real cause, the hatred as well as the desire, almost happening in the primordial form, they sit together, eat together, sleep together, everything happening equally. Once manifested only, hate become completely opposite of the desire. Something like in the heat element, the heat and cold both are there. In the earth element, the lightness and the hardness both are there. Both are known as earth element. Likewise, when you go to the Asavanusa level, it can manifest into either way, though you not anticipate it, expect it. That is how it becomes the situation, make the situation complicated. Okay, now we have already taken 90 minutes on the discussion. If there are no other more questions, I would like to suggest to end the day's work with sharing merit with all the seen and unseen beings. For your attention, please, that as far as the timetable is concerned, we have evening talk scheduled at 2 o'clock, but I would like to suggest to start it at about 1:30, and therefore 11 to 1:30 we have the time for the lunch as well as for the walking session, and 1:30 we will be meeting here, both for the English and Sinhala Dhamma talk, because most of the time, due to the time restriction, I may be passing 1 hour on the Dhamma talk. By this arrangement, we will get enough 1.5 hours for the Dhamma talk. That is what I would like to suggest as far as the timetable is concerned. And today the other thing we changed was interviews, not from 4 to 5. We will have interviews 5 to 7 rather, and confine 5 minutes for each person, and anticipating at least 2 interviews per person within the retreat. I think that's all regarding the timetable is concerned. Any other suggestions or any other complaints? Okay, if it is not so, we will, of course it is the first day for me, but for the retreat, the 3rd day, and I heard that things are happening in a smooth way. So we must thank all the organizers, seen and unseen, because it is a miracle to have this kind of a retreat without much of a complaint. So we'll share all the merits with all the seen and unseen beings, those who help organize and helping for this retreat, as well as share the merit with all the dear and near ones. At last, make our objective clear and objective straighten. As to that, may this all skillfulness and the merits we accumulate help us to understand things as they are in this very life. In that aspiration, we will chant traditional stanzas, what we do in Sri Lankan way. Those who we know may join, others may listen attentively. Ittavata janammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata janammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata cammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu sasanam. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu desanam. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu mam parang. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sukhi hontu. Sadhu, sadhu anumodami. Sadhu anumoditappam. Kamami kamitabbam. Sukhi hotu. Sukhi hotu. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddapacayino cattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukhang balang. Ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca ato nibbana sampatti minati samijjatu.